Hey group, Lindsay Phipps here for those of you who are new to my community. I know we get several new people in here every week, so just real quick, I'm a health and fitness coach. I work with my customers online and virtually with a mobile app. That's in an exclusive group that I have with my clients. Here I give you guys value and tips and information and free challenges for free just because I like to help people. So as promised, we are going to talk about obstacles this week and how to overcome them. The most common obstacles related to nutrition, fitness, and mindset. I had hoped to get this up a little bit earlier, but I also had a coaching webinar tonight with some people that were interested in joining my team. So I had to get that done, get that posted, get that going. So now I'm going to get this recorded, and then we'll see how my internet does in getting it loaded. Hopefully I can actually get it loaded up tonight and posted for you guys. So today, day one, we're going to talk about obstacles with nutrition, and then tomorrow we'll talk about fitness, and then let's see what day it is today. Thursday, we'll talk about obstacles with mindset. And so I hope to give you guys some tips that you can put into practice right away, maybe some insight on some obstacles you might be dealing with, and give you just a few things that can maybe help you out. So in the comments below, let me know, what questions do you still have about obstacles related to nutrition? Not excuses. I don't like excuses. We all have lots of excuses, and it doesn't get anybody anywhere. So think about actual obstacles that you need help in overcoming rather than excuses, right? And let me know if you have any questions after you watch this, and just give me some feedback. I would love to be able to do this video live with you guys, but I just can't while I'm in Montana with the internet out here. So we're recording, and I'm just hoping you guys engage on these videos so it can kind of be like we're having a conversation and a discussion, right? So I've got 4 common obstacles today that we're going to talk about related to nutrition. I have notes as usual because I tend to get off track. So the first obstacle that I hear all the time is that I don't have time to cook. I'm busy as it is. And my solution for that is to do some prep. And that's probably not what you want to hear, but it goes a long way. Doing meal prep, cooking, it does not have to be a time suck. Not every recipe out there takes an hour to prep and cook, and there are some recipes like that are pretty complicated, and I save them for special occasions. I'm definitely someone who does not want to spend a lot of time cooking in the kitchen. I love to cook, but I don't want to be there all freaking night. I want to be able to get in and get out 20, 30 minutes tops for most of my recipes. So, one tip that can really help with that is, well, first realize that cooking and meal prepping does not have to be a time suck. It just depends on how you go about it, what recipes you're doing. The next thing is spend one day a week doing some prep. Now, I know that even on our days off, we get super busy, but it's all about priorities, right? So you have to think about what your priorities are, and your priorities really need to be on your health and fitness, because I know that you love your families, you love being a mom, you love your job, you love whatever it is that you like to spend your time on. Well, you can't be around forever to do that, what you love, to support your family, be around for your kids, if you're not taking care of yourself. And we certainly need to lead by example as well for future generations, right? So if we prioritize meal prep and we set aside a little bit of time, one day a week to do it. For most of us, that's on Sunday, and we just sort of blast out a lot of the chopping. We can cook some things that will last for a week, like baking some chicken breasts that are good for the next 3 or 4 or 5 days. We can cook some rice, and I'm not saying like bland, nasty-ass rice and sad chicken. I'm saying stuff that actually tastes good. You just got to find the right recipes. So you spend like an hour or 2 on Sunday, and you do some chopping, you do some basic cooking, you can make some egg muffins in the oven while you're doing some other things. And if you sort of multitask while you do your meal prep, by the end of an hour or 2, you've got food for the whole week, or you've got the majority of your food ready to cook the rest of the week. While you're doing all that, you could even throw something in the crock pot and then put that in the freezer as a backup meal on those nights that we all have where we just don't really want to cook. And so that's that's a big tip. And I know that it takes some planning to do that because you have to go to the grocery store. You got to have your recipes ready. You kind of have to figure out what can I be cooking while this is in the oven and this is in the crock pot. And the first couple times it's going to be chaos. You're going to suck at it and it might take you like 5 hours. But I promise that by doing it every single weekend, you start to get the hang of it. You learn some little tricks here and there and how to condense that time and get it done faster. Another one is cook extra for leftovers. I am big on this. So I cook every other night because I make double on the nights that I do cook, and I set it aside. And so immediately I cook double for my recipe. So for example, last night we had curry for dinner. I cooked double. I served dinner for my husband and I, and immediately put the rest in the refrigerator because I know that if I leave it out, my husband's going to go back for seconds, even though he really doesn't need seconds. He just really thought it tasted good, so he wants more. I do the same thing sometimes. So immediately I pack it away and I tell him that's for leftovers tomorrow night. So now I knew tonight was going to be a busy night with my coaching webinar, making this video for you guys, uploading some things. So because I made double last night, I didn't have to cook tonight. So I saved myself a lot of time. I'll do the same thing tomorrow, make double, and I won't have to cook the following night. And then I always have, really quick meals that I can throw together in like 10 minutes if I have to, on the nights that you just don't feel like cooking or something went longer than you anticipated. You just got to plan a little bit, and share responsibility with cooking. I don't have kids, so I obviously can't come from a place of experience with this, but when I was growing up, when I was probably 12 or even younger. My mom would pick out some pretty simple recipes, and I was responsible for cooking dinner one night a week. My brother, a couple years younger than me, was also responsible for cooking dinner one night a week. And yeah, it took my mom, some time to teach us and answer questions, but because she could do some other stuff while we were figuring out how to cook dinner, and she'd make sure we had the recipe, and she was available to answer questions and make sure we didn't catch the house on fire. She shared that responsibility so we could cook dinner as well. We could contribute, and not to mention, we're all going to be adults someday, and we have to know how to cook. Otherwise, we're going to be eating frozen dinners for the rest of our life. So I think that teaching your kids to cook is a valuable thing. And also for kids who really hate healthy food because maybe they're really used to eating a lot of junk and fast food, because that's just the way that things have been for you guys. Totally normal. I have found that when you involve your kids in cooking, when you involve your kids in the meal planning and asking them what recipes could we cook together this week, what recipe would you like to cook this week, you involve them in the grocery shopping. When kids get to have their hand in it, they're much more apt to eat healthy because they actually contributed to creating that meal. And so then your kids are more likely to not complain about the food. They are more willing to try new foods, at least from the feedback I've gotten from other people who do have kids, and they try and implement these things. It makes it a lot easier to keep the kids eating healthier food. Just get them to participate, and eventually they'll kind of figure out how to cook, and it can save you a lot more time because they're very independent and able to cook a couple different recipes on their own. All right, so number 2 obstacle with nutrition is that you hate being hungry. I hate being hungry too. Nobody wants to be hungry. We as human beings avoid being uncomfortable at all costs, whether that is uncomfortable in social situations, avoiding conflict. We don't like to feel thirsty. We don't like to feel hungry. So before we even get a chance to feel hungry or thirsty, we're already throwing stuff down our throats, right? So my solution to that is to load up on low-calorie filling foods. So foods that are low in density in calories, but they fill you up, right? And keep in mind that you don't have to eat these itty-bitty mini meals all day long to lose weight, and then you just tell yourself you have to get used to being hungry. Fuck that. Who wants to feel miserable all day long because you feel like all you're doing is eating a little bird meal? No. I certainly wouldn't be able to lose weight if I did that. So know that if you don't deprive yourself, you're more likely to stay on track and reach your goals. As soon as you start deprivation and severe calorie restriction, you backslide. and then you binge, and then you're off track and you've gained weight and you're back at square one and you're frustrated and thinking you failed at this all over again and that you'll never succeed at being healthy. So I don't want you to deprive yourself. If you want to have a treat every week, have a treat every week. I have a treat every single week, and it's whatever I've been craving that week. I know that I'll get that, so I don't have to overindulge earlier in the week. So there's the overeating because you don't want to feel hungry because it's a habit. And then there's eating intuitively, which means that you're eating when you're hungry, you're eating the right amount of portions, and then you lose weight. So what are these foods that are low in calories, but they're very filling? So that would be whole grains, fruits, veggies, and lean proteins. I know that for most of us, our go-to when we feel hungry or we feel kind of tired, we go eat simple carbs. And for those of you who don't know the difference between complex and simple carbs are like your chips and your breads and your pastas. Complex carbs are your rice and your potatoes and your beans. And the difference between those is that your simple carbs, they're going to process through you very quickly. They're going to give you a little energy spike, and then you're going to crash and feel tired, which means that you're going to go back and eat those simple carbs all over again and then go through that same cycle, and it just doesn't stop, right? But if you eat complex carbs, like if you eat these, the rice, the whole grains, the fruits, veggies, these things, fruits and veggies are carbs too. When you eat a carb that is more complex, it means that it has fiber attached to it and protein attached to it. So when it does go through your system and you digest it, it takes much longer. And those simple carbs, the chips, pasta, bread, that goes to fat stores. There's nothing you can do about that. And it will give you a little bit of energy. But the complex carbs, those are not going to go to your fat stores. Those will immediately be used for energy, for brain function. So if you're somebody who feels like you just don't want to be hungry all the time, make sure you always have some extra things on hand, like those lean proteins, fruits and veggies, and whole grains. Incorporate those into your meals. So the next one, number three, the third obstacle with nutrition is that healthy food is gross. And I can understand that. I've been there. My husband was there. Like, seriously. When we first started dating, the only vegetable he had ever eaten was canned corn. And I made him frozen corn one night with a little bit of butter, and he was mind blown. He was like, "What is this? I've never had this before." I'm like, "It's just frozen corn, honey." So I get it. When I introduced like spaghetti squash to my husband, he squished it on his plate like a pancake. I'm serious. He put a crap ton of salt on it, and he poured ranch dressing on it, and then he smashed it some more and like mixed in the ranch dressing. I'm sure all he could taste was the ranch dressing. But now he will eat spaghetti squash all by itself with some other veggies on top of it and some beans, and he's like, "When are we going to have this again?" So know that you have to be patient when you start adopting a healthier lifestyle with eating more nutritious food and healthier food. Know that you need to be patient, and you just need to try new things and find those recipes you really enjoy. Eating healthy food does not have to mean plain, flavorless, gross, limp food that you just plug your nose and eat because you know it's healthy. If that's how you feel about your healthy food, you're cooking it wrong, and you need to go get on Pinterest and look up some healthier recipes that will appeal to you. If you like pizza, there's healthy versions of pizza. If you like tacos, there's healthy versions of tacos. You like wings, there's healthy versions of wings. There's healthy version of everything out there. You just need to go look for it. When I work with my clients, I give them plenty of recipes to use that are family friendly: baked mac and cheese, barbecue chicken pizza. I mean, there's a lot of options out there. So don't have the misconception that eating healthy means you have to be eating these little tiny birdie meals of iceberg lettuce and rice cakes, and now life is going to be miserable forever. That's not the case. So make sure that you experiment. If you suck ass at cooking, buy a cookbook. Pretty much anybody can follow a recipe, right? You just follow the steps. I sucked at cooking when I first started cooking. Now I'm a pretty awesome cook. I get good compliments. People always ask me to cook for them. It just took practice. That's it. I wasn't born a good cook. You know, nobody's born a good cook. It just takes some practice. You can watch a cooking show. You know, ask somebody for some help, take a cooking class. There's a lot of different options and ways to become a better cook. And the simplest and cheapest way to do that is just to get a recipe book, go on Pinterest, save some recipes you want to try, and open it up on your phone. That's what I do. I open up the recipe on my phone and I have it sitting on our calendar, and I just follow through and I make whatever the recipe is. And you're going to have some recipes that totally bomb and everyone's like, can we order pizza because this sucks? I've had those, but it's only been a couple times. And what you'll do, the more you experiment, and I suggest you experiment by cooking one new recipe a week, something you've never cooked before. That way, it's not a whole week of experiments, which can be stressful for you as the cook and making all these new recipes. But once a week, try a new recipe. And if it bombs, you don't ever cook it again. If the family likes it, you add it into your rotation. Next time you go grocery shopping, well, now everyone loved this, so we can have it on Tuesday night, and Wednesday night I'll try another new recipe. And then you'll find that you have a lot of go-to recipes that, that your family enjoys, that are healthy, and they actually taste good. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that your taste buds change. And I know that that seems really weird and you might not want to believe it, but when your diet is high in sugar, salt, and fat, you're overstimulating your taste buds, right? So then when you go and eat some veggies, it tastes super bland and you think it's disgusting. So if you're used to the fried foods, the high fat foods, the high sugar foods, the high sodium foods, you got to take some time to adjust. Your taste buds will adjust. Like some of the foods I used to eat a couple of years ago, even a year ago, some of the foods I used to binge on, I will have now every once in a while because I'm like, that sounds really good. I'm going to have that for my treat this week. And I don't even finish it because I'm like, this shit is salty or it's super rich. Like for me to say something is rich is pretty insane, being a food addict, especially with sugar. But that shows you that your taste buds do change. The fact that my husband eats spaghetti squash recipes without adding salt and ranch dressing shows you that your taste buds can change. He eats zucchini now. Like, seriously, guys, it can happen. It just takes some time. All right, and my last obstacle I was going to talk about is that nutritious food is expensive. I hear this all the time. I totally understand. I've been on food stamps. I used to donate plasma twice a week, every week for 2 years, just so that I could feed myself and my dog when I was single. It sucked. And I was also trying to eat healthy as well. So I know that it's possible. It just takes some creativity. So for example, those complex carbs I told you about, rice is cheap, potatoes are cheap, oats are cheap, beans are cheap. These are all very cheap filling meals or filling ingredients that you can put into a recipe, and they're super cheap. They're going to fill you up. They're a complex carb, so they're healthy. So start there. There are healthy food options out there. You just have to be willing to cook. That's where it really comes down to. Know that organic food is not essential for weight loss. Eating organic is a choice, right? If you can't afford it, don't be upset about it. You don't have to eat organic. If you're working on weight loss, if you're working on just creating a healthier lifestyle and eating healthier foods, don't focus on things having to be organic. You don't have to go that route. And in fact, shop in season. What are the fruits and veggies that are in season right now? Those are going to be the cheapest usually. And you can incorporate those into your recipes. Frozen fruits and veggies. Nothing wrong with frozen fruits and veggies. They're still very nutritious. Stay away from the canned fruits and veggies. Those have all kinds of other shit in them that you don't need to be eating. But, if you can't buy fresh, buy frozen. It's just as good, just as healthy. And the other awesome thing about buying frozen fruits and veggies is that if you don't eat it in time before it goes bad, nothing wrong with it staying in the freezer for another week, right? Let's see here. A couple more. Don't eat out or drink as much. I know who wants to do that, right? Because eating out is easy. It's simple. The food is amazing, right? Having a couple of glasses of wine every week or a couple of beers every week, that's always nice to do and unwind with, but it costs money, right? When I sat down and did our budget, when we first started following a meal plan and drinking Shakeology and doing our workouts, I thought we couldn't afford it. I thought, how the hell are we going to afford buying healthy food and buying this shake every month when I felt like we could hardly afford our groceries? But the thing was, when I sat down and looked at where our money was going, we were buying groceries, but half the time we were too lazy to cook and follow through on using those groceries. So by the end of the week, we had a lot of food waste. We were throwing food away, which is awful. We were eating out a lot, eating a lot of fast food, a lot of takeout, getting drinks, getting Starbucks. All this stuff really adds up fast. And you don't even realize it as you're doing. You just sort of adjust your budget as the month goes along, and you feel like you're broke because you're spending all your money on this food when you're eating out. And I found out that by following a meal plan, only buying the ingredients that are in my meal plan, saved me time and money. Drinking Shakeology as a part of that, I actually saved money. We probably saved, I bet we cut our food budget, the amount of money we were spending on eating out and snacks and takeout and fast food and vending machine and Starbucks coffees and all these different things. We were spending twice as much money on that as we were drinking shakes, following a meal plan, and eating only what was on that meal plan, and grocery shopping for only what was on that meal plan. We cut our food budget in half. So if you're somebody who eats out a lot and spends a lot of money on that kind of stuff, really evaluate how much you really are spending on that, and you'll see that you have a lot more money in your food budget to spend on healthier food. And don't get me wrong, I know fast food is cheap. $3 for a value meal, I mean, it's hard to beat that, right? And a lot of times we feel like we're forced to go and do that. But I was talking to a gentleman a couple of years ago who, in his household, he had his children, they were grown, going to school. One of them was married with kids, saving up for a house. They were all living in the same home, all on very, very, very strict budgets. And he was like, I call bullshit on fast food being cheaper, because he's like, we eat beans, we eat rice, we cook very healthy meals, we save a lot of money because we're eating these foods that are less expensive, that go a lot farther. So I know that it's possible, right? And the other thing to keep in mind too is that, sure, a $3 value meal is super cheap, and you don't have to cook dinner, and you just give your kids Happy Meals or whatever, because it's a habit. You're tired, you're exhausted from the day. But you got to think long term, right? So if you're eating that fast food every single night, 3 nights a week, 5 nights a week, whatever it is, over the long term, now you're battling lifestyle disease. Now you're battling healthcare costs because you have to go to the doctor all the time. You have to be on medications. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer, a lot of those things can be prevented with a healthier, fit lifestyle. And so while it might be cheaper now to buy those fast food meals, down the road, you're going to be spending a lot of money on healthcare. And not only a lot of money, you're going to be wasting a lot of time being sick and not being available for your kids and your family. And that's what you kind of have to think about, is the big picture here. There are cookbooks out there that give you meal plans based off of food stamp budgets. So that's out there too. So it really is possible to eat healthy on a very small budget. You just got to be creative and be willing to cook. So that's what I have for you guys today on 4 obstacles with nutrition. I hope that helped you out. They're the most common ones that I can think of. I hope that some of these tips help you. If you have any other questions, please comment below this video. Give me some feedback. I'd love to have it. Instead of the Q&A video, I hope you might have noticed we're not doing Q&A this week because I'm doing these 3 videos instead, but we'll get back to Q&A next week. So thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing your comments.